All right, so you know how much we love digging into stuff from the spiritual seek, right? Well, they've got this mini test about moral wholeness. And I thought it'd be cool to break it down.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
But before we even get to the test itself, I'm kind of curious, what exactly ACE moral wholeness, how do they define it?
Yeah, so it's not just about being a good person, it's deeper than that.
Oh, I like deeper.
It's more about your actions actually matching up with your beliefs and your values.
So there's a consistency there.
Exactly. And the spiritual seek talks about how that creates this internal harmony.
That makes sense.
But it's not just internal, it kind of ripples outward.
Oh, interesting. So it affects how you interact with the world, too.
Exactly. It impacts society as a whole.
Okay, so this mini test is kind of like a snapshot into how aligned we are.
Right. It gives you a glimpse into that moral wholeness.
Oh, well, let's jump into it. The first statement is, I admit my mistakes and take responsibility for them.
Okay.
Seems simple enough, but I feel like there's a lot packed into that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Psychologically, it's huge.
How so?
Well, think about it. Someone who can just own up to their mess-ups.
Without making excuses?
Right. No defensiveness. That shows real self-awareness.
So it's like a healthy ego thing?
Exactly, but it goes even deeper.
Oh, I'm ready to go deeper.
When you admit mistakes, you can actually learn from them.
Yeah, you can't fix what you don't acknowledge.
And that learning builds resilience.
So you're better equipped to handle future challenges.
And the spiritual seek connects this to increased self-esteem, too.
Oh, that's interesting. How so?
When you take responsibility, you empower yourself to make things right.
It's like you're not a victim of your circumstances. You have agency.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that can be really powerful.
I could see that.
And the spiritual seek always brings in that spiritual angle.
Right, gotta have that.
So for them, this ties back to humility.
Makes sense, recognizing we're not perfect.
Yeah. And that we're all on this journey of growth.
All right, let's move on to statement number 2.
Okay.
I stand up for what is right, even if it means standing alone. Now that takes guts.
Oh, yeah, big time. This is about courage.
Not just talking the talk, but walking the walk.
It's aligning your actions with your moral convictions, even when it's hard.
I feel like I've definitely struggled with that sometimes.
It's not easy. Psychologically, this is about self-efficacy.
Like believing you can actually make a difference.
Exactly, and having the confidence to act on your beliefs.
So it's not about being stubborn just for the sake of it.
No, it's about that deep inner knowing.
That this is what's right, and I'm going to stand by it.
And the spiritual seek frames this as faithfulness to your beliefs.
Like staying true to your conscience.
Yeah, even when it's unpopular or challenging.
Okay, statement number 3 is, I believe in fairness and strive to be impartial in my decisions. Oof, that's a tough one.
It is, isn't it? We all have our biases.
It's human nature to see things from our own perspective.
But this is where cognitive empathy comes in.
Well, that's a good one.
It's the ability to understand different viewpoints, even ones you disagree with.
Like actually trying to see things from their shoes.
Exactly. And it's crucial for making fair decisions.
I can see how that would be tricky.
It takes effort, but it's so worth it.
Now, how does the spiritual seek connect with this?
They'd say it reflects this principle of justice, which is present in so many traditions.
That makes sense.
It's about recognizing the inherent dignity of every person.
That everyone deserves equal treatment.
Right. That's the foundation of fairness.
Powerful stuff.
It is. And it's something to really strive for in our own lives.
All right, on to statement number 4.
Let's hear it.
I hold myself accountable for my actions and their consequences. I'm sure we've all had moments where we could have done better with this one.
Haha. Yeah, now I have.
It's easy to blame others or make excuses.
It is, but this statement is about owning your actions, good or bad.
Yeah, and facing the music even when it's uncomfortable.
And it's interesting, this connects to self-regulation and emotional intelligence.
Those are big ones.
They are. Being able to acknowledge your role in things, that's a sign of maturity.
Because you can actually learn and grow from the experience.
Right. And the spiritual seek emphasizes that this isn't just about external consequences.
Oh, interesting.
It's also about that internal alignment.
What do you mean by that?
It's about asking yourself, am I living in accordance with my values?
So it's not just about avoiding punishment. It's about living with integrity.
Exactly. It's a much deeper level of accountability.
I like that. Okay, we're on a roll. Statement number 5 is, I learn from past experiences to make better choices in the future. This one feels so hopeful.
It is. It's about growth and progress.
It's like acknowledging that we're all going to make mistakes, but it's what we do with them that matters.
Exactly. And psychologically, this is about reflective thinking.
Taking the time to actually analyze what happened.
And extract those valuable lessons.
So you don't keep repeating the same patterns.
Right. And the spiritual seek would say this is the essence of wisdom.
Applying what you've learned to make better choices.
It's about becoming more discerning, more conscious.
All right. Last but not least, statement number 6.
Hit me with it.
I help others spontaneously, without expecting anything in return. Now, is true altruism even possible? Like, don't we always get something out of helping, even if it's just a good feeling?
That's a great question. It gets to the heart of motivation.
Yeah, like, are we ever truly selfless?
Well, psychologically, this ties into pro-social behavior.
Actions that benefit others.
Right. And studies show that even though there might be some personal benefit, like feeling good, those actions are still incredibly valuable.
So it might not be 100% pure altruism, but the positive impact is real.
Absolutely. And the spiritual seek would say this is about embodying love and compassion.
Like putting those values into action.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing our interconnectedness.
That we're all in this together.
Yeah. And that helping others ultimately benefits us all.
Okay, so we've gone through all 6 statements in this mini-test.
Pretty thought-provoking stuff, right?
Definitely. And it's amazing how much depth there is to these seemingly simple ideas.
It is. They really packed a lot into this mini-test.
But this was just a taste, just a glimpse into this whole concept of moral wholeness.
Right. There's so much more to explore.
I'm definitely feeling like we need to dig a little deeper into some of this stuff.
I'm with you. Like, what stands out to you the most so far?
I think I'm really interested in that connection between moral wholeness and self-esteem, like how owning your mistakes can actually lead to greater confidence.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And maybe we can even tie that back to that whole idea of purpose we were talking about earlier.
Ooh, yeah. I'm curious about that too, like how living with integrity can help you uncover your purpose in the world.
It's all connected.
Well, listeners, you'll have to stay tuned for part 2 because we're going to dive deeper into all of that next time.
I can't wait. So, picking up where we left off, I think what's really interesting about all this is how these statements show us the different sides of how our morals develop.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, it's not just one thing.
Right. Like, remember how we talked about admitting your mistakes?
Yeah, that was a big one.
Well, that's like the foundation for growth, you know? You got to start by owning your stuff before you can really move on.
Because you're moving from that, like, me perspective to one that's more about everyone else.
Exactly. And then you've got those statements like standing up for what's right and being impartial.
Yeah, those are tough.
Those are tapping into a whole other level of moral reasoning.
Like, you're not just following the rules, you're thinking about those big picture principles, right?
Like fairness and the greater good.
So it's like your moral compass gets fine-tuned as you go through these stages.
Totally. You go from what's in it for me to how can I make things better for everyone?
And this mini-test touches on all of that.
It's pretty amazing, right? Like, it shows us that growing morally, it's a lifelong thing.
Yeah, you're not just done at some point. You're like, okay, I'm moral now.
You're always going to face new challenges and new perspectives that'll shape how you see right and wrong.
So it's not about reaching some perfect endpoint of morality.
Nope, it's about the journey.
I like that. It takes the pressure off a bit.
Totally. Yeah. And that's where that whole self-reflection thing comes in.
Oh, yeah, from the spiritual seek.
Yep. Remember that statement about learning from your experiences?
That's so key.
Because you can't just go through life on autopilot.
You got to hit pause sometimes and be like, okay, what did I do? What could I have done differently?
And then use that to make better choices next time.
Otherwise, you're just going to keep making the same mistakes.
Exactly. And that's what's so powerful about this mini-test. It encourages you to look at your own moral compass.
And see if it needs calibrating.
Yeah, exactly. It helps you become more aware of your values.
And whether your actions are matching up with them.
It's like holding up a mirror to your soul.
But then that brings up the question of, like, how do you actually cultivate more moral wholeness?
That's a great question, and there are tons of different ways to approach it.
Give us some ideas.
Well, I think one of the most important things is being intentional about who you surround yourself with.
Like finding people who challenge your thinking.
Yes. Remember how we talked about seeking out diverse perspectives?
Yeah, that's huge for growth in general.
Because you don't want to be stuck in an echo chamber where everyone just agrees with you all the time.
You need those people who make you question your assumptions.
And expose you to new ideas.
Because it's not about changing your core values to fit in.
It's about expanding your understanding of the world.
And becoming more nuanced in your thinking.
The more perspectives you're exposed to, the more you can see those shades of gray.
instead of just black and white.
Which I think ultimately makes you a more compassionate person.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of compassion, that reminds me of that statement about helping others spontaneously.
Yes, that's compassion in action.
It's about going beyond your own self-interest and truly caring about other people.
And that ties back to purpose, which we touched on earlier.
Ooh, you're right. There's totally a connection there.
When you're living in line with your values, your actions take on a deeper meaning.
It's not just about being good, it's about fulfilling a purpose.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the last part of our deep dive.
Okay, tease us a little. What are we going to explore?
We're going to get into that relationship between moral integrity and that deep sense of purpose we all crave.
Ooh, I can't wait, listeners. You're not going to want to miss this. We'll be right back after a quick break to wrap things up.
Okay, so we're back and ready to unpack this whole purpose thing.
Yeah, it's a juicy one.
It is, because it's like when you're living with purpose, everything just kind of clicks into place.
You're not just drifting through life.
You've got that direction.
It's like an inner compass guiding you.
So how does this connect with moral wholeness?
Well, think about it. If you're truly living by your values,
Like walking the walk.
exactly, then your actions, they become so much more meaningful.
It's not just about being good anymore.
It's about fulfilling something deeper.
Okay, I'm with you, but can you give us some real-life examples? Like, what does this actually look like?
Sure, imagine someone who's super passionate about art and helping kids.
Okay, I can see where you're going with this.
Mhm.
They could just do art as a hobby, but if they're driven by this moral wholeness,
They step it up a notch?
they might start an art therapy program for underprivileged kids.
Wow. So their passion becomes their purpose.
Exactly. And it's not just about those big things.
Yeah, like saving the world.
Even those everyday choices can reflect this sense of purpose.
Like what?
Okay, say someone's core value is honesty.
Okay.
It's not just about not lying.
It's about being transparent in all areas of life.
Exactly. Being upfront at work, speaking up even when it's tough, being real in their relationships.
So each action, no matter how small, is driven by that deeper purpose.
It all adds up.
And I bet that creates a sense of inner peace too, right?
Absolutely. There's this alignment between your actions and your beliefs.
Like you're not just going through the motions.
You're living with intention, and that's where that deep fulfillment comes from.
But what about people who are like, okay, this sounds great, but I have no idea what my purpose is? Where do they even start?
That's a great question, and I think the spiritual Sikh would say, start by looking inward.
Like some serious introspection.
What are your core values? What lights you up? What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
So it's about getting clear on what truly matters to you.
And then finding ways to align your actions with those values.
I mean, that's easier said than done, right?
It's definitely a journey, but it's so worth it.
And the Spiritual Seek has tons of resources for this, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Guided meditations, journaling prompts, even community forums.
So you can connect with others who are on the same path.
Which is so important because it reminds you that you're not alone.
Well, this has been a really powerful conversation.
I agree. We started with that simple mini test.
And it's opened up this whole exploration of moral wholeness and purpose.
And it shows that this stuff isn't just theoretical.
It's something we can actually cultivate in our lives.
Which is empowering. We have the power to choose to live with intention and integrity.
And in doing so, we not only create a more fulfilling life for ourselves,
but we also make the world a better place.
Which is what the Spiritual Seek is all about.
It's about that ripple effect, those positive actions creating positive change.
So listeners, as we wrap up today, I encourage you to really reflect on what we've talked about.
Think about your own values, your aspirations, and the legacy you want to leave behind.
And remember, moral wholeness isn't about perfection. It's about progress.
Keep striving, keep seeking, and keep those hearts open.
And maybe take that mini test from the Spiritual Seek, see what insights it sparks for you.
It's a great starting point for this journey of self-discovery.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep seeking.